thing I did yesterday to block out some of the light.
Oh yeah.
There we go. 'Cause it was
All right,
too bright.
guys. Welcome to
That's
a
like a
new. Welcome to a new theme that we're gonna do every now and then when we are able to do it as much as possible. It's a talk show where we sit over here, we talk about video games, we are talking about things that interest us, and we're gonna spend like an hour to 2 hours talking about different topics related to video games. Of course, all of this is gonna be uploaded on YouTube, so people can see it at any time that they want. This is actually the first time that we do that, so you're gonna see a lot of mistakes, and hopefully it's not gonna be that bad. So let us know, what do you think? Yeah. Sexy YouTube. I like you a lot. So hit me with some information. Hit me with the video.
Yeah, we'll find a video to talk about first off.
That's how it's gonna go, yeah.
The news people that I keep giving you, they have got great subjects to talk about, so I keep giving you those videos.
Yeah, so we're gonna find the video. We're gonna play it on YouTube, and you guys gonna see it with us. And after that, we're gonna spend a little bit time discussing about the specific subject between me and Yujo. And then we're gonna invite people to the Discord. You are very welcome to join when we allow you to join us and have your information, have your input into the conversation if you want to. If you don't want to, you can always talk to the chat and have a discussion through that. This guy tells me how I am really in. I'm really in life, Snowflake. Yes, Mr. Snowflake. Makes you think about an 18-year-old guy.
My voice?
Yep, apparently.
I'll take that as a compliment. That's 11 years younger than I actually am.
Damn right.
You guys should be happy. Me and Blue spent all night sorting this out for today, and then 2 hours just making that overlay.
Yep. We literally spent 2 hours to create that. Yujo voice is like he's not old, not giving a shit about life, and loves weed. Jesus.
Oh, I don't give a shit. Weed. Smoke weed every day.
Smoke weed. Throw the vape every day. Do you have the video?
I PM'd you on Discord.
Oh, really? I don't have the sound. Yeah, that's gonna be a problem though. Can you send it on Twitch? Can you?
Yes.
Yeah, it's better for me. I cannot click around. Or wait, is this one below the video? The one with the troll? I'm not gambling, but okay, got it.
Yeah, that's the one.
Alright, let's stop the video. Up the qualities and the moment of silence. You're gonna see the video on the stream. Righty. Let's go.
First response to 2017's never-ending loot box saga was basically a bit rubbish. They said loot boxes aren't legally defined as gambling, so we can't do anything about it, but we will keep an eye on it in future. Well, now they've said something else, something a little bit more.
Where is it?
Over the past few weeks, the games industry, community, and media has been plagued by two words. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? Loot boxes.
Unless you're reading closed captions, then it's loot boxes.
Or loot boxes. Probably said it in the title as well. Of course you knew what I was going to say. Loot boxes.
Not lube boxes.
Loot boxes, as we all know, contain a random set of in-game rewards like cosmetic items, weapons, or modifications, and can be paid for with currency in-game or with real-world money. In the last few months, gaming's favourite evil corporations, EA, Activision, and Warner Brothers, led an all-out charge on putting these randomised loot boxes in their games. And as they did that, gamers really started to push back. We had a petition to the government about it here in the UK, and while lawmakers and authorities in the rest of the world have begun speaking out quite vocally against loot boxes, the UK Gambling Commission was a bit more reserved in their lengthy assessment. Quote, "The Gambling Commission is keeping this matter under review and will continue to monitor developments in the market."
I think if it was loot boxes, they would be as reserved as they were.
I don't know how it works.
Loop
You
boxes.
you definitely get lube in it every time. Or
Randomised loop, that would be a thing, wouldn't
yeah,
it?
just different,
Randomised loop.
I don't know, strengths? I don't know.
Does lube have strength?
I
Mike,
don't know.
I feel like you haven't got a lot of experience in the department of lube. You call it saying that there's strengths.
I've led a sheltered life here in North Wales. It's something to do with sex, though, isn't it? I'm pretty sure.
Well, after a hectic few weeks, instigated by EA's horrendous loot box system in Star Wars Battlefront 2, the UK Gambling Commission has issued a follow-up statement. And it only took an investigation in Belgium, condemnation from US public officials that call Battlefront a Star Wars-themed casino, and recognition that loot boxes do constitute gambling under law in Australia's state of Victoria to get them to say something. In a news post on the UK Gambling Commission website, Executive Director Tim Miller said loot boxes can't be regulated under current UK gambling laws. He said, quote, "In early 2016, we identified loot boxes as a potential risk to children and young people. Our starting point in deciding our position with any product is to look closely at whether or not it falls under UK gambling law. The definition of what is legally classed as gambling is set by Parliament rather than by us. Our role is to apply that definition to activities that we see, and any changes to that definition need to be made by Parliament."
Okay, so it's up to the UK Parliament to change the legal definition before anything can be done. Again, the Commission points out that a definition of gambling depends on whether or not a game of chance, like opening a loot box in video games, produces an in-game item that is considered money or to have money's worth. In other words, you need to be able to cash out whatever it is that you get inside the loot box. But the Commission is not dropping the issue at that, and this is the crucial bit. As Miller pointed out, quote, "However, many parents are not interested in whether an activity meets a legal definition of gambling. Their main concern is whether there is a product out there that could present a risk to their children."
Miller said
Alright, we're gonna pause the video over there because they actually discussed about a lot of things that we're gonna talk a little bit, then we're gonna continue with the video. They started with the whole loop boxes, discussing the loot boxes as something that is a loop that continuously happening over and over and over again. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, the British government's being very British. Constitutes as gambling is what... Well, you know, everyone knows the idea of a casino, right? You go into it, it's like a slot machine, you put your coin in, pull the thing, and RNG decides whether you win or not. And that's what loot boxes are. And there are games that have acceptable loot box RNG in the terms of how gamers see it, like Overwatch. Right? No one complains about Overwatch loot boxes. Not even those two guys do, because it's all cosmetic. And paying is optional. You can get them at a consistent rate that never changes. And it's not pay to win, and you pay for the convenience of having these skins and whatnot early.
Right. Yeah, taking as example the Overwatch, the loot boxes system is 100% cosmetic. It doesn't give you any advantage into the game or so ever.
And then
That's
there's
one.
Yeah. No one has a problem with that, and it's consistent too. Each time you level up the same amount of XP using Overwatch, every time you get 20,000 XP, you get a loot box.
Exactly. It doesn't scale or anything. Doesn't matter if you played 1 billion hours. Doesn't matter if you played 10 hours. It's the same amount of time every time.
Yeah, and then now you're getting the fuckery where we've got things like Shadow of War, where the loot box system, when you get to the end game, the gear you need to successfully complete the end game stuff, you can only get out of loot boxes, making it pay to win. And there is leaderboards for this. There's
on Elite Danger.
no, on Shadow of War.
Mm.
You know, you need the legendary gear you get in these loot boxes to be able to complete these challenge missions.
I actually
And
played
so,
it, yeah.
And so you can't do it if you're going to grind it out normally. It would either take forever, or RNG just won't let you have it. It's rigged in a sense. And the same things happened with Star Wars, where they tied the loot boxes to progression. So it was pay to win, no doubt. You know, the best stuff in the game could be bought by some kid with a decent credit card.
I was playing the game. I actually didn't like the game overall, but that doesn't matter. I did play the game and I was going the legit way, but I felt, yeah, it's a little bit, too grindy. And then I've seen the boxes, and the boxes had some actually valuable things that they're gonna do the progress for you just by giving money. And that's where the loot boxes go off topic. Goes from the cosmetics to pay to win.
And then Destiny's now done it where, as we saw in the video, that they were throttling the XP that you gained after you hit level 20. And they were already doing it with the gear once you hit 265 anyway. And these bright engrams, okay, sure, some of it's cosmetic, some of it isn't. Like, for example, the sparrows you can get out of the bright engrams are faster than the standard ones you can buy. Which, when the sparrow races start, will give an unfair advantage because you could just buy a ton of bright engrams and get a decent sparrow. Boom, you've won the race. And sparrow racing in Destiny 2 has a very big following. It's very popular, and it's an event that Bungie like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very competitive. And so and the gambling aspect is, okay, so if you choose to use real money, this is where Overwatch could be considered gambling as well. So you put your money in to buy your loot boxes, right? Because say you have a very long day job and you don't want to grind it out because you don't have the time to. That's fine. That's good. That's a good point to loot boxes.
You can put money into the game even though you already bought the AAA price of the game.
That's a counter argument. Yeah. Why pay more? You shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
If it was a free to play game or some half price title, even if it's AAA, we could understand it. The payment model.
Can we discuss about that? Because it's kind of pissing me off. I buy, let's say, Overwatch, right, for the full price of whatever it was when it came out, like what, €60, $60, whatever. Why do I need to put money? Why am I even allowed? Why do I have the option to put more money into the game to get the skins?
Okay, this is why people accept it with Overwatch, because there's nothing game changing about it, and you can grind it out in a consistent way that people are happy with. All people see it as buying the boxes in Overwatch is time saving. It's like, because it doesn't change the game, you're not getting anything better than, you're not getting any better than anyone else. It's fine. You know, like if I worked 15 hours a day, because some people do, and they want to play Overwatch for a couple of hours, it's going to take them years to get everything. Whereas someone that plays like we do for like 8 hours plus a day, it's a lot easier.
Why? Okay, question. Why Overwatch didn't remove the marketplace completely and remove the duplicates?
They removed the duplicates because the RNG system was basically handing out too many, and people were just getting gold instead of getting a skin or an item they hadn't unlocked. And Blizzard looked into it and agreed that the RNG was too random. It wasn't smart enough. It was being stupid.
Yeah.
So instead of RNGing what you haven't got, it was RNGing everything. So they changed the algorithm to only RNG what you don't have, and then consider what you do have. And even then, you have a really, really low chance now to get a duplicate, and it just gives you gold instead anyway. So they fixed the duplication problem. If people want to buy loot boxes in Overwatch, that is actually their prerogative. But the problem is, you don't know what you're getting. So you put money into it, and when you buy that loot box, you buy one loot box for 60 cents or whatever it is they're charging for one loot box, right? And you're rolling a dice. And what you get out, you may end up getting 4 piles of gold because you've already got the skins or what icon or voice thing it wants to give you. And this is where the gambling element where it gets accused of gambling, because you actually don't know what you're going to get out of it. And the argument back from developers is, but you're getting something. Where in gambling, in proper gambling in a casino, say blackjack, you can lose completely and not get anything.
Do you consider getting something, that you getting something is arguable because you're getting double, duplicates? I had an apple and I got the same apple and I wanted something different, another fruit, but I'm still getting apples. That's not I'm getting something. That's I already have that thing. I wanted something else. Well,
the argument that the developers give there is that we just go for Overwatch because their RNG is fairer than most. So you've got the thing won't give you full duplicates. They've made sure it can't do that anymore because it was
when did they change it?
When they overhauled the RNG of the loot boxes.
I see.
That was before Doomfist came in.
Okay.
They overhauled the RNG of the loot boxes to make it fair, and no one's complained about Overwatch loot boxes. The big complaint is the pay-to-win element, like you're seeing in Call of Duty World War II, where the only way to get these decent guns is to
put your money into the game. Yeah.
And it's unfair. It's unfair. Unless it's DLC and you know what you're buying, it shouldn't be there. Okay, yeah, get the DLC with the extra gun in it. That's DLC. That's different. You know exactly what you're buying.
Mm-hmm.
But you add but it's.
But
unfair.
again, it's not a skin. It's not a skin. You actually get the gun that it can actually affect the gameplay of your enemies and yourself.
Yeah, and what makes it worse, Activision with Call of Duty, they made a patent for where someone kills you with this gun that's DLC or from a loot box that you don't own. It pops it up on the screen and says you can buy it. So they're using dodgy marketing tactics as well to try and sell more. It's like, give us your money, give us your money, give us your money. We don't care. And it's like, I know the business ethic on it is to catch something that in big business they call whales.
Yeah.
It's where people it stems from the 90s in America, where you get, unfortunately, overweight people that sit and watch teleshopping and just order shit because they want it, because they've got the money to do so, and that's where the word whale comes from. Now it's just a generic term for people that will buy micro DLC and loot boxes that doesn't add anything tangible because they have to have everything. It's like someone that goes into it's like the only person that goes into League of Legends and actually spends hard money buying all the skins for all the champions are the whales, because a real player won't do it. Why waste the money? Yeah, and that's what they're targeting. But the ethics coming into it now is that it's being slowly pushed where you're being forced to buy them to compete, and it's wrong. You shouldn't be forced to pay for anything. If you've bought the game, the only thing you should buy after that is DLC and expansions. You shouldn't be forced into this roller dice loot box system.
So you are actually agree with my statement that after buying a full price game, marketplace, any skins, whatever, has to be completely removed?
No, I don't agree. Games like Overwatch, the reason why games have a shelf life. They can only stay active for so long, and adding in a microtransaction market that's fair, that contains things that don't modify gameplay, that contain things like cosmetics and time saving and things like that. But Guild Wars 2, for example, it has time saving things like you can get special salvaging kits that you can swap between your characters that never runs out. Just to save you time. It doesn't actually, because everyone else can do that using normal salvage kits. It's one you can swap around and doesn't run out. It's like a tiny perk, and you don't pay a lot for it.
Yeah.
And you can get things like permanent mining tools, that give a slightly better yield.
Somehow the company has to continuously keep making money. Somehow. Yeah. All right. I understand that. Otherwise, the company will go broke. Understandable.
but then you get like I said, you get sheer fuckery like pay to win loot boxes in Call of Duty and Shadow War. You get the fuckery in things where you kind of feel it makes you feel guilty. Like the marketing tactic is to make you feel guilty. It's like, you've not bought this, you should buy this.
Oh yeah, you got that gun, but you didn't get the scope for that gun. Boom, another
Yeah.
one.
And games do require some form of monetary income, and this is why DLC is okay. If the DLC is tangible for the money, no one will complain. You know, I've bought games in DLC where I feel like I've underpaid. You know, it's like for The Witcher 3, for example. When I bought the season pass for The Witcher 3, and it added another 40 hours to the gameplay, I'm like, wow, I feel like I robbed CG Projekt Red. You know, I've got so much out of this for the season pass. It's unbelievable. And then I get a season pass for something like Watch Dogs 1. And I'm like, okay, this is it. This is bullshit. And then they do stuff like that. They go, it's this fuzzy realm of where does DLC stop being DLC and become microtransactions? And when do microtransactions get to the point where they should be classified as DLC? It's a big, murky mess.
Yeah, I found out myself that some of the DLCs that the people call it DLC and extra content actually cost so much money that is not even worth what you get. Like, okay, I got a new, let's say, I'm giving a stupid example, Counter-Strike, a new map, bam, DLC $20. I'm like, really? Just for a new map? You charging so much money? I feel like it's not fitting.
I was just mentioning about Borderlands 2. Well, Borderlands 1 has the same problem. There are guns that you only get from the expansion packs. And to be honest, with Borderlands, it's not so bad because Borderlands is mostly PvE. It's meant for co-op with your friends.
It's not player versus player.
There is a small PvP element, but it's just for fun. It's nowhere near PvP orientated like Call of Duty would be, you know. But with Borderlands 2, or the Borderlands genre in general, they're included inside the pack. So it's like, look at Borderlands 1, for example. I absolutely loved the Zombie Island of Dr. Ned. And it came with new guns for the Jacobs manufacturer. That's not OP. That's not unfair. They're just adding more content along with other content. You know, it's like, oh, we make a whole new story section and put a few more guns in it as well. It's not you're buying a gun to beat everybody else. It's a bit different. It's expansions have always done that. Look at an RTS, right? Say Company of Heroes, Dawn of War, Galactic Civ, Civilization. You know, you look at those games and they will release a map pack, for example, or a scenario pack, and you may get an extra Civ in there. You may get some new tools to make a new unit, but that's because it's part of the DLC. It's not because they're trying to rinse you for money. Yes, they're trying to rinse you for money because it's a business, but
That's what they're trying to do. Yeah.
But that comes with the pricing of the DLC, and that's a different subject. It's not, here you go, buy one icon for €30. You know, it's not that ridiculous.
You hear that? Yeah. I feel like more into the competitive aspect is where people get frustrated about the whole system. When there is a player versus player, that's where you see a huge reaction. If there's a little bit slight of element of a pay to win, people react like extremely loud. And all that I understand, because they are trying to be competitive themselves. But they're giving them by allowing them to have all these transactions and just getting an OP gun, it frustrates the other person, right? There is
PvP environment,
some PvE as well that even though, you know, one player doesn't have a more advantage of other player, still it's a bit meh to have it.
Yeah, but that's what they do, though, with that kind of... The idea is that's what I was talking about with making you feel guilty. It's like your friend talks about the new content and how good this shotgun is, for example, and you don't have that DLC. and then you're playing with him in the game or her, and you're running around, and he's just one-shotting everything, and then you're there with your fucking spud gun, and you just feel like crap. And unfortunately, the companies use that to their advantage, and they do the same thing with the loot boxes. They guilt you into buying them. It's like this guy's using this gun that gives him a bonus. This skin gives a bonus on the gun, or whatever. And it's like he's using it. If you had it, you could do it too. And it's like you're not. It's
I got
really
that.
unethical.
You have to get that as well.
And then there's a peer pressure element. If you're in a really large group that centers around one specific game, and you don't get the DLC, and everyone else has, this was a big problem. Back when I used to play Halo 3, this was a big problem for some people because we had I was part of a clan on Halo 3, and as the DLC came out, it got to the point where Bungie had finished releasing the DLC, and I had it all, and a few of my friends had it all, and there'd be a couple of people that only had one or two. So then we'd be in matchmaking, and a map would get picked out of the list, and they didn't have it, so they get kicked. So then they feel bad because, oh look, I can't play with my friend. And then they get singled out, and it breaks up groups and communities.
Yeah.
It's incredibly psychological, harmful. Essentially, it's one could say it's abusive in a way because it makes you feel so guilty. You go and then get out your card and you go and buy it, and it's like that shouldn't be why you bought it. You should have bought it because you wanted to buy it.
I can relate to that in when I was playing. For example, I said it before when I was playing Arcade. It's an MMO, it's a PvP, and it's like the biggest fail of all time in the MMO community, where it was the pay to win was so bad that even myself, because everyone was so OP, they wanted me to go and spend money so I can at least be near their level. I was so low, let's say on an MMR, I was half their MMR after playing 2 years, day and night, and I was half the MMR. It was so overpowered that they can literally just one-shot me in a split of a second, and I had to do something. I felt bad. I had to do something about it so I can be at least closer to their level, so I can enjoy the game as much as they enjoyed it. After spending 200 euros, I end up with the same exact items, even less, before I do that.
And that is the RNG element that people are calling gambling, because you're not going to get better. You may even get worse. And why do companies have the legal right to sell you this? And what you end up getting is completely useless. But there is another element here. You go back 10 years. I was in my late teens playing an online game. We didn't have any of this problem. You had games, you had big chunky DLCs or expansions. And this problem didn't exist. And there were microtransactions in games, mostly for time saving and cosmetics. There was none of this, oh, this is gambling, oh, where's the money going, oh, this is unethical. There was none of this. And there is a political element here as well that's being ignored, because there is a social shift to be rather play the victim, play this victim mentality. Make just the world is going to hurt you regardless. The world is hurting you. Accept that. This, and if you act like me, where you don't care, you're kind of pushed away. And this is going into gamers. Gamers are doing this, and this is where there's another big issue: is take SJWs out of video games. This whole, and there's adults fighting for. There's a lot of adults that are really ignorant of the gaming world. Just because they're just not interested. It's no fault of theirs. They're just not interested. Why would they have all the information? They end up fighting the corner for these kids. Because I want this gun, but I can't get it. Why is this skin on CS:GO $300? I want it. Why can't I have it? And then parent looks like, I'm not paying $300 for a fucking digital skin. What is the skin? What is this object? They haven't got a fucking clue. So then they turn around and go, well, look at you. You're rinsing me. You're rinsing my children. Stop. And then you get loads of political elements that get added in, and then you get all this screaming. And there is an element in there where a lot of younger generation gamers have this entitlement stigma.
Yeah, now they changed it. They put 18 plus.
Yeah, no,
I
don't.
It's gonna do any changes.
I don't mean this. I don't mean the censorship ruling on how old you have to be to play a game. I mean entitlement, like snobby entitlement to you think you are you this belongs to you, or you think you have the right to do this when you actually do or don't. You know, or you shouldn't do this when you can. You know, it's this entitlement. It's you feel like you're owed something. Well, you're not owed shit. And that is unfortunately started entering the realm, and this is partly why this whole loot boxing thing's come up. It's helped gaming. It has, because there is we got used to it, and we were slowly, us older gamers were slowly conditioned to get used to this.
Swallowing slowly.
Yeah, and it changed so subtly. We didn't really notice it, and then the younger gamers have walked in and gone, "Hold on, where the fuck's my money going?" So, granted, their screaming has helped in that regard, but in some areas, all it's done is made it worse.
Where do you think all of this started? Like noticeable, like people actually said, "Wow."
It probably started on some game somewhere there's always been the pay to win issue, right? There's always been games that have been pay to win. There has been pay to win games even when I was really young. There was always games that were pay to win. You take examples from games where it's like a free to play shooting game, but you bought your gun, you bought your armor, you bought that shit, and if you didn't have a lot of money, you couldn't buy the really good guns, and the game was pay to win. And that's where the injustice started being felt. And I suppose big developers have started noticing, oh, there's a cash flow here, we should milk it, and it's not gone down well. They made a mistake, and now they're trying really hard. They're trying really hard to make their user bases happy, but at the same time, like in the other video, they say, like with Destiny, okay, yep, we'll sort out the problem to do with the XP, not a problem. And what do? They double the required amount of XP, but make it the same amount for everyone. So basically, you've just you've just kind of fucked them over in one side and helped them in the other. So you haven't actually changed anything, but you're still getting your fucking money for it.
That is true.
It's all smoke and mirrors, and it's dishonest. And I think that's the major problem. It isn't. If it was really transparent and we could see it all, this is why it's law in some countries to post the loot drops for certain things, for random events, to post what the chances are of getting it. It's because people feel there's a major dishonesty in it, that they're being lied to. And I think if it was far more transparent, people would still be annoyed, but they wouldn't be as annoyed. I think it's more the principle of being lied to than the actual object.
I think just people don't want any. They don't want the benefit of another player having the advantage at all. Just keep it to the cosmetic. That's the way it was working for so long. And, you know, the companies were making their money. You know, everyone was happy. New skins. Everyone was happy. The minute they crossed the line was the minute they added the new thing to get this and you're gonna be better, or you're gonna have something more than the other person have. And that's what I believe people don't want to see.
That's a good way to see the root of that. Is originally people wanted to win, right? And you've seen it again on the video this day. People will pay to cheat. So
absolutely.
So here, all the developers are doing are catering to the demand of wanting to win and providing something for that demand, ignoring how ethical it is or how the majority of the community see it. And the argument keeping that sort of thing is for people that, not necessarily casual gamers, but for people that don't have a lot of free time.
They don't have the time. That's correct.
They don't have the time to sit and grind a character to max level. So what they want to do is drop some money on it, get a few stuff, get an XP booster so they can keep up. And I don't have a problem with that, but the problem is you need to balance it. Really, you need to do it like in a competitive scene. It shouldn't be allowed. Like in CS:GO, it should not be allowed. You know, you shouldn't be allowed to speed through it because it's very competitive. In Overwatch, it's okay because
it's just cosmetics and voices. Okay, it's cosmetics. It's okay. And that's why not many people said anything about it because it's just fucking cosmetics. Doesn't give you any advantage.
Then we look at PvE now. Right, PvP is obvious because the competitive edge. No one should have a greater advantage, especially in a competition.
Of course.
So, that's obvious why you don't want it. So let's look at PvE, where the realm's a lot more smoky and darker. Think of, take Dark Souls, right? Really hard RPG. Very, very popular one. Just imagine, instead of the expansions that they released, imagine if you had to pay for that great sword. You had to pay €5 for a great sword. And then you got invaded by another player and they killed you with it, and over and over and over again. It would make you hate the game.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
The devs, because they don't communicate with the community, partly the community's fault, because gamers can be really fucking toxic.
You've seen players trying to communicate with the developers, and the developers saying, "Oh yeah, but literally ignoring them." Who to blame there? The players or the developers?
It's kind of both, because you've got the toxic element that just want to hurl insults, which is a large portion, and then you've got the developers that are just being ignorant because they're trying to avoid the toxicity. Then you've got them trying out different methods of making money, and no one's going to be bothered by a developer making money to keep their game running. If it's got a good user base, people enjoy it, there's no harm in finding a way to keep the game running. It's like, oh, games should not have loot boxes. Well, I'm sorry, a game needs to make money somehow, otherwise the servers won't run anymore and the game gets closed. There's thousands of games I've played that you can't play online anymore.
It's the approach of the player towards the developer. They are, I've heard I don't know if it's Destiny that they had that issue. The approach of the players towards the developers was toxic, instead of being a little bit, hey guys, that's wrong, you have to stop it, in a more civil way. I don't know the word that you're gonna use for that. To a more calm way, and explain them, hey, this and this and this is not fitting into your game, you gotta change it. Instead of that, I heard you, go kill yourself, and so on and so on. The approach of the players there, it's toxic. And
the problem of being transparent as well.
Yeah.
If you make a monetary system that people agree with and is transparent and fair, if it's overly transparent, you will get people that can exploit it, hack it, commit fraud, and he is it kind of ruins it for everyone else. And then the developers obviously aren't going to want to lose money, so they have to hide some of it, and there isn't a balance. And like I said, I think if things were a lot more transparent, it would help a lot.
Absolutely.
It wouldn't solve the problem. It wouldn't solve the problem at all.
Nope.
But it would help.
That is correct. Guys, we're gonna get to your comments in a little bit. Thank you for the follows, thank you for the bits, thank you for everything. I appreciate all of that. We turned off the notifications for the meantime, so we can have that discussion, and once we finish with the conversation, we're gonna have conversation with all of you. So thank you for being patient, thank you for listening, of course, and again, this is the first time that we do it, so any feedback will be much appreciated. So we're gonna continue with the video, we're gonna continue with the conversation. By the end of it, we're gonna invite people to the Discord, talk if they wanna talk, or if you want us to read the chat. We're gonna read the chat and answer questions and discuss about what you guys think about it, so we can keep it in that format, if you don't mind, guys. Thank you again for the help, appreciate that. Alright, so we're gonna continue with the video. Do you have anything to add, or should I continue with the video?
Continue with the video, it's fine.
Alright, let's continue.
The Commission is not concerned with the growth in...
I need to shut down the video. There we go.
Examples where the line between video games and gambling is becoming increasingly blurred. Quote, where a product does not meet that test to be classed as gambling, but could potentially cause harm to children, parents will undoubtedly expect proper protections to be put in place by those that create, sell and regulate those products. Whether gambling or not, we all have a responsibility to keep children and young people safe.
I find interesting about what he's saying there is that the line is blurred, but who cares if it's blurred? Like, is it harmful or not? That's the question, and that's kind of what they've pointed out here. They've said quite clearly there's nothing they can do about it. Some of the things going on right now in video games is bad, is potentially harmful to children, and it needs to be sorted out. And it's interesting that he's saying that it doesn't matter what the legal definition of gambling is and whether or not loot boxes falls into it. Is loot boxes in itself a bad thing?
Exactly.
Well, yes, it is.
Obviously, this isn't a
Sorry, I'm gonna put a little bit stop over there and discuss about this. The parents buying the game. They know that they bought the game for the full price. And then the parents notice money missing. So some of them, they say, I bought the game for my son. Why am I keep losing money? So it's what I said before, I think, with the tag, that it is gambling because I keep losing money even though I bought the game, right?
There is a lot more to it than that when it comes to parents buying it for kids. There is a big example that was done do with kids playing games and having access to parental financial information. So there was a game called Smurf Village that was on iOS. And they raked in millions of US dollars because of the way Apple had the payment system. And what it was is the device was not asking for authority on every transaction, only the first one. So,
Jesus.
So you can see the problem right there, can't you?
Jesus.
So the kid would say, "Oh, can I have some of gems or cherries or whatever it was?"
I'm gonna buy some gems, and then free
So
gems. Click, 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 click.
Yeah, because the parents are like, okay, I don't mind buying you one lot. All right, it's a free-to-play game. I'll get you a few. So they buy it
It's your
once.
birthday. Come.
Yeah.
Nice, 5, whatever.
And then the kid presses the button and realizes he can keep doing it, not realizing that each time it's doing it, it's charging the parent. And loads of parents banded together and sued Apple over it. And a lot of them were reimbursed because it was Apple's fault for their authentication system. But they didn't fully reimburse the parent because the judge ruled that there was a parental element where the parents needed to police what their children were doing on the internet, which again is true. So they were only partly refunded. Some were refunded in full, some only partly. It was done on a per transaction basis, like per set, per instant, per person, per account thing.
I see.
And then you get this now in other games where parent buys a kid GTA 5, for example, right? Or, well, not GTA 5, for example, buys a game that has DLC. They buy them the game. Parent doesn't really have an interest in gaming, so doesn't pay attention. It's not their fault. They just don't know. And then kid wants DLC because his friends have DLC. So he goes, "Oh, Mom, can you buy me this for this game?" But the parent's like, "Well, I already bought you the game. Why do you need more?
Yeah.
What do you need more?" And this is another thing that from the parental aspect where there is a bit of parental ignorance. Not all parents are ignorant. There is some though.
Because there is DLC, there is more content into the game, but I already bought you the game. That's the discussion.
And the parental side of them is, why should I keep paying for it? Why should I keep having to buy this person? And the developers reply, well, you don't have to keep buying it. It's purely optional. And the developers are correct. There is an element when it comes to the kids. There is a parental element involved. That stop being shit parents and actually police what your children do on the internet. Like my kids, if I let my kids use my computer, I set clear boundaries of what they can and can't do, and they stick to it because they're used to it. They're used to me setting these boundaries.
Though.
And it's got to point I can trust them to do it.
But yeah.
And schools have a similar approach when they let kids use computers in free time and stuff. Yeah, they have filters to stop kids going to places they shouldn't. Parents are being lazy, unfortunately.
It's not.
Whether-
Okay. I don't believe it's being lazy. For example, living in Cyprus where parents don't know about video games. It's video games is not even a thing. It's a new thing. For example, in Cyprus. So if I was a little kid and my parents would buy me a game, they expect, oh, I bought your favorite game. Leave me alone. Enjoy your game. And then I go a month after and I say, hey, there's an expansion. There's another 20 that everyone got and I didn't get. Destiny 2. Everyone got the fucking DLC. I didn't. It put me to a disadvantage. Because everyone is playing the extra content and I'm not. So the developers makes me feel sad and that I have to pay the money. I have to put the money.
Yeah, this is where I was saying about the guilt tripping that developers do onto parents and onto kids, essentially twisting their arm and convincing them to buy it. It's unethical in that sense. But then you are a human being. You do have the choice whether you do it or not. And my brother's mentioned this before on the last the last talk that we did.
Yeah.
There is, stop buying it then. You know, you can vote bomb on Steam, you can slander it to high hell on Reddit. That ain't gonna change anything. If you want it to change, stop friggin' buying it.
Buying the DLCs or buying the games that there come with the DLC?
Whatever the ethical quandary is in that specific game, don't buy it. It's like that's why a lot of people, they're starting to do this now, and that's partly the reason why EA changed their system in Battlefield 2, is because people weren't buying that shit. There was a big like digital rebellion against buying it, and you know,
As message to the developers, do they need to stop doing something on that aspect, like stop the DLCs or stop charging for the DLCs?
No, because if it's a good game, it needs its life. You know, and money is required to keep the game running. Developing the game costs money because people have wages. You know, it's time. Those people need paying. They have lives. Servers need to be bought and they need to be looked after by technicians and whatnot. You know, an electricity bill has to be paid.
Okay, then when it's ethical to have a DLC, after how long, when the game came out, it's ethical okay to buy for extra content? Destiny 2 game came after a month, boom, DLC. Like,
that's not if it's
me?
If it's not really important DLC and it's just cosmetic, it's optional. You don't need it.
If it's a cosmetic, yeah. I'm talking about content, you know, content DLC. Areas that you cannot go, that they are into the game, and the only way you can access to that specific area, Destiny 2, is by paying the DLC. After a month, 2 months, whatever. It's disgusting. It disgusts me. You literally just charge me 60 for the game, and after 2 months, you're asking for another 20 so I can access to the other area.
If they've made the content separately from the base game, because the way the development cycle works, if they've made it separate, then I can understand. But what is shady? That's not too bad, but there are elements of what you're talking about that are really shady, like where the game is released and on day one, on release day, there's already DLC. That shit is unethical, because if you can release it on day one, you could have put it in the damn game.
Yes.
That is unethical, and that is just milking gamers. But a few months, because people have had the time to make it then. Because the game will be finished a good few months before its actual release date, because there's like post work to do and whatnot, and day one patches to release in case there's a bug that they found before the game was released.
Me personally, I am okay by paying extra money for extra content after the 6 months. You know, after, you know, a lot of people played the game, they played it a lot. They did everything that it was possible to be done. They burned out and they want something extra. How much you can do in 2 months? How much?
Now, looking at a game like this, Destiny 2 will not last 6 months without any new content. It won't. It's too restricted on what. Once you've done the storyline, you've farmed the events and you've done the raid. There's nothing else to do.
Because they based the game upon the DLC.
Not necessarily. It's only one planet. You get 4 in the main game. So one could say it's 4 times larger than DLC. A true expansion, on the other hand, needs to be game size. And then I would expect an expansion to roll in 6 to 12 months after release. I'd expect an expansion to
Yeah.
smaller DLC when they've already got loads of tools and they can template the content. So, oh, we've got this car, all we've got to do is change the skin to make it look different. It doesn't take very long to develop it. So I can understand a few months there. But then there's this argument as stop doing DLC and do full-on expansions.
Expansion, exactly. Yes, that's my point. Yeah.
But then there's this great screaming demand for more content, so the developers are trying to meet that demand at the same time. There is an element. Part of it, it's a very mixed bag. Shut up. Oh, my phone's going off.
Yep.
It's a very mixed bag of opinion, because on some parts I'm with the gamers, and on some parts I'm with the developers, and on some parts I'm with the parents of kid gamers, and on some parts I'm with the kid gamers, and it's
There is some shitty shits going on that has to put a stop and find the balance between all of this.
Yeah, it's in that video. He said it's incredibly blurred, and no one knows where they kind of sit with it. I think.
Yeah. They can understand it. We understand the developers that they need to continue making money. We understand the gamers that, including myself, that I don't want to spend money every 2 months for extra content that restrict me from enjoying the game fully. And then you have the loot boxes. Like there is so many things into video games the last 2 years. I'm fed up. I'm done buying big games. I said it officially. If a big game comes out, I am not buying it. I'm not supporting all this clusterfuck, this unorganized thing.
Then you're already doing the right thing by not buying it. Vote with your wallet and it will change. The system will change if no one buys it, because then the developers and publishers have to change their way they market things or the way they do things, because no one's buying it. It does not work. They are businesses at the end of the day. They need to make money to survive. But if the public don't like what they're doing, then the business will fail, and the business doesn't want to fail. So then they have to change their model, the way they sell their product. And
we encourage everyone, stop buying those games. You might be a fan of the game. You might be whatever. Call of Duty, Battlefield, Star Wars, whatever. Stop buying them. So it can click something on their brains and say, hey, people are stop buying. Let's actually make a legit game. Let's actually try to make it worth.
This is why the indie scene's getting very popular, because you've got small groups that are self-publishing, or got new publishers that don't have this evil corporate agenda, and they make small pieces of content that have high quality. They're short. Because they're short, they're small. They're also cheap. So, so the gamer feels like they're getting their money's worth out of it, and no one complains about them because you feel like you're getting the money. I suppose part of it is where does the gamer get to dictate the value of the game, and where does the developer get to dictate the value of their product? And it has to meet somewhere in the middle, and it's not.
And it's not. That's why we are here talking about it, because it is not. It's not up to us. I mean, we can be vocal and we can say our suggestions and everything, but it's not up to us. It's up to the developers to figure it out what it works. To look back.
Partly it is up to us, because the choice we have in that realm isn't the actual price of the game or the price of the content that you want to buy. It's whether you buy it or not. That's the choice that you have. And the pricing is set by the publisher. And then they need to see from their analytics, they need to look at what sells and what doesn't. And then they'll have an idea of where the price goes. So like Assassin's Creed Origins being thrown up to £60 here in the UK is ridiculously overpriced. games, brand new games here have been £45 since I can remember, and they've been $60 in America.
Yes.
That's been decades that I can remember. It's always been that way. Sometimes it's been a bit cheaper, and you snag your bargain,
I
depending on if
believe
a store
60
wants.
euros as well.
Yeah. So, but now if they want, like, they're putting the game's price up. Why? The game is no different. What have you done
Is
to
the
warrant
demand.
such? Yeah. What have you done to the game? If the game includes if I can get 80 hours of gameplay, I will pay £60 for the game because I have a rule: £1 an hour. That's how much I'm willing to pay for a game.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that seems a nice value. If I buy some shitty mobile app game for like £1.50, I know I'm not going to play it for more than an hour. And this is where I got the idea from, that ish you can say about £1 an hour is fair. So what have they put in Assassin's Creed Origins that warrants an extra £15? Is there more stuff to do? Is there an element of non-linearity that I can waste my time doing? Or have you just filled it out with needless padding? Like in Destiny 2, where you don't get a sparrow till you finish the main storyline in an effort to make the game longer. That's all it does. You can finish. I've ran through, like me and you did the campaign. We did it in almost a day simply because you were stood on my sparrow and we were riding around, and we saved so much time.
Yeah.
And that's why you don't get the sparrow to the end of Destiny 2. It's because they need to pad out the game the first time you play it.
It becomes a walking simulator. Let me delay you by sending you from one point to another point across the map. So you're gonna walk. It's gonna expand the game.
RPGs are guilty with it, like World of Warcraft, and single player RPGs are guilty of it. Final Fantasy 15, a big current single player RPG, is guilty of it. It's backtracking. You pick up the quest, you go out, you do the quest, you come back, you have to turn it in. That's twice the length of time.
Yeah, that is correct.
Where games like Guild Wars 2 have eliminated the backtracking, so you can get to the heart of just playing the game. So you do the quest in the area and done. That's it. You get mailed the reward, and then you can carry on your way. You don't have to then traipse halfway across the map to speak to one NPC for 2 seconds. It's, and
I never thought about it on an MMO game.
And all of that is padding to make the game last longer. And this is another issue I have. This inflates. Well, I don't say inflates. It kind of masks the value of the game, because if you could do it at full speed, do it in half the time.
It's like Resident Evil. I remember Resident Evil. You had to go from. You went literally to the same place 7 times, in 7 different periods of times, just to expand the game.
Reusing it, to make the game longer, it's really shady. And I get there must be some element of backtracking. There must, there will be times you re-go to places or things change in the story. Like you went to the city once, and then later in the game that city now being besieged. Right? the city's now being besieged, and you've got to save it. That's story element.
That makes sense.
But then, when you've got to keep going to and fro all the time, it wastes the gamer's time, and it artificially makes the game longer without any effort. So Assassin's Creed Origins, is that what you've done then, Ubisoft? You stuck an extra £15 on the game just so I can traipse around the desert and waste time going between NPCs. That's where that 15 hours has got me walking up and down or riding a fucking camel. Really? I'm not paying £15 for riding a camel through a damn desert.
That hurts,
I want to be killing people. I want to be, saving Egypt. I want to be taking out the bad guys. I want to be climbing monuments and looking at the vista. I don't want to be walking up and down a desert. So Assassin's Creed Black Flag is terrible for wasting your time with sailing to places. Like, it will make you go to a point out in the middle of nowhere and then give you an instance for the mission and not do it in the open world. Why waste people's time doing that? Just give them a checkpoint close by. Because it artificially inflates the game and makes it longer. I think you take 10 minutes to do that. You take 10 minutes to do that for 30 odd missions. That's 300 minutes. 5 frigging hours. You've artificially inflated the game by 5 hours just by making someone go to a point for 5 minutes in the middle of nowhere.
Jesus fucking Christ.
It's dirty. It's dirty development, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's they go with the easy way. That's what I noticed. Hey, as you said, £1 for an hour. So let's make it count by doing stupid long quests and stupid repetitive things just to expand the game, and that's where I officially decided I'm done. Until as I said the other day, Kickstarter or developer, small developer that it doesn't have these big companies above them, guiding them to the same BS over and over again. I want some. I'm tired. I want something different, something that actually worth it. And I'm gonna put my effort into it.
Just had a message come from Colin, one of the viewers.
They
friend
are
of mine.
saying a lot of things. Yeah.
He
Points.
said- He said to me, it's a very valid point actually, that the cost of development has gone up a lot. I mean, skyrocketed a lot, and
That's true.
this does warrant a price change due to normal financial inflation and things. So I can understand why the price has gone up, and things do take longer to make, therefore cost, wages more and bills more. I get that, but then, so what, the developers think they can just pad it out with pathing? Same, it's still granted. Okay, put the price up by £5 to £10 if there's a price problem, but don't put it up by 15 and then charge me £5 for running around the desert for no reason.
Yeah.
Give me something to do in the fucking desert that takes up 5 hours, and then it's legit.
Yeah. Worth the money.
Then if you're going to make extra content to expand it, then yeah, do so, but make it tangible. Don't make a set of armor and a sword and charge people £8 for it. That's ridiculous. Charge them. People will pay £3, right? €3, £3, for a weapon and armor set. They're not going to go and pay £8 for an armor set. No, it's ridiculous. And games are doing that. They've overpriced it. Like City Skylines, for example. There's some DLC for City Skylines where you get 3 or 4 buildings, and it doesn't really change much in the gameplay. And they want more. They want more than a £5 for it. So that's not worth it. I don't.
Exploration. You explored the desert. You explored the same areas.
Colin's just said, yeah, the padding has always been there, and I've never agreed with padding, and it's being used more now. Hide.
What about Bloodborne?
Bloodborne was a console exclusive, wasn't it? And I've never played Bloodborne, so I can't comment on it.
I have no idea either. Next set, they had same thing in Bloodborne. You were, oh my goodness, I lost it. You are reworking same areas over and over again. Yep. You start to feel it now, the games as well. Yeah, a lot.
It doesn't take too much extra time when you do the padding in that way. So you reuse map. You've already made the map once. Apart from minor changes that may happen in the storyline, you're reusing the same enemy assets. You're reusing the asset for the character. You're reusing the code for the character interaction with NPCs. So it's really, once you've constructed the first time you go there, to reuse it doesn't take as much effort as it did the first time you did it. And the fact that being used here and there is not really much of a problem. You can understand that in a real story, players may go, the character may go to the same place a couple of times. Think of a story about a cop. How often is that cop going to walk into his local police station? It's that principle. It will happen. That makes sense. But when you're artificially extending the game with stuff like that, it's kind of like, it's lazy. It's lazy. It's like,
lazy.
And people don't want to pay
lazy.
lots of money for laziness. They don't.
It's laziness, yeah. Yeah.
It's not. It's not. Some of it is warranted. Some of it is perfectly okay. But then they take it too far. It's like just a couple of steps too far. It's like, well, why am I walking through this area again? I don't have to even be here.
Yeah, I agree. I wanted to ask that earlier. After the reaction of pay-to-win loot boxes in Star Wars, do you think EA still is going to risk and do the same in next Battlefield? Have pay-to-win loot boxes? And the answer, it's very simple. Yes.
You want an example of EA being shady as fuck? They practically murdered Mass Effect Andromeda, right? They killed it. They were planning several pieces of DLC, and they killed it. But they said they'd still support the multiplayer and make stuff. And you can look on Origin, you can see packs you can buy for Mass Effect Andromeda that came out after they killed it. What? This is clearly a cash grab.
Yep.
Talk about milking it when it's already died. It's horrible. So, and then obviously now they're just going to focus on Anthem. Now I do like the look of Anthem and I do want Anthem. It's, to me, Anthem is what Mass Effect should have been, and BioWare should really have not have used DICE to make Effect Andromeda. They really shouldn't have used DICE. They should have used they shouldn't have got DICE involved. They shouldn't have used Frostbite. They should have let BioWare do it by themselves, but then BioWare screwed it up and gave it to a secondary subset of themselves anyway. They didn't even do it properly. And this smacks of the lazy approach to making Mass Effect Andromeda. I pre-ordered Mass Effect.
I had the opportunity to make a very good game, like very good game, but no, same shit.
There's so much potential in the way BioWare have laid out Mass Effect. The system that they have, it's so easy to expand upon it. You just add a new planet or a new place. It's really easy just to plop it in on the map because the map's so spread out. It's not hard. It's not hard to put it in. So you can't even argue that the game design won't allow it. The game design will allow it. It's, I don't know. They did a very shady thing with Dragon Age Inquisition as well, with some really weird DLC. Mainly two. I think it was 2 actually was the worst one for the multiplayer. I think it was one of the really shady ideas that BioWare were putting out, and BioWare never really behaved like that before. They really used to do really good quality projects, like they did Knights of the Old Republic, not the MMO, the actual original single player games. Great quality. And then they did Jade Empire. It was very niche and it wasn't very popular, but it was still okay for its time. And EA have really hampered, really pushed down on BioWare, and then Star Wars rolls around. Obviously, EA have the license Star Wars games.
Wow.
So they killed 1313 because they didn't think it'd be the product that people wanted, and then they closed the studio that was making it. What?
That was so bad.
This is just some really shady
very
business
shady.
going on. Yeah,
Very shady.
and this is where the transparency helps. Part of it is that the communities behind these games don't understand what's going on because the devs aren't communicating it. And part of the reason why the devs aren't communicating is because communities can be incredibly toxic and obnoxious and just scream at them and hurl insults and all sorts. So there's a unwillingness to meet in the middle.
Oh, I'm so scared to talk to the community because they're so toxic. You made them with your mistakes. You made them being toxic for the bullshit that you threw at them. It's your fault. You have to accept it. You have to accept the toxicity that came out from your community and the game that you published because it's your fault. Oh, I'm so scared. I don't care. It's your fault. You have to take it, swallow it, and listen.
Yes. Next. Perfect fucking example of a great developer being screwed over by their publisher, Visceral. They made Battlefield Hardline. They made the Dead Space series. Didn't they? They did the zombies for one of the Call of Duties, and it was the best zombies they'd done. And they're a great developer, and they've got great quality and great writing, and EA killed them off. It's like, why? Why do that? Visceral can be a moneymaker if you let it. BioWare could be a moneymaker if you let it. But they're just I don't know. I think EA has some serious financial issues that they're not talking about because their stock has dropped like a fucking rock in a pond. It really has over the last 6 months. Their stock has just bottomed out really bad. Part of that is probably opinion, and part of that is for the crappy projects that they've been publishing. Half-assed projects. Massive, like Mass Effect Andromeda. Odd writing. Like the meme, my face is tired. Why is that even a line? Why is that even there? It's bad writing, bad dialogue, and they outsourced the animations as well. BioWare didn't even do the animations for Mass Effect Andromeda.
All the glitches, don't talk about it.
I know, and
wow.
they had to patch it. And I'm like, I actually finished the game before they even patched it.
I didn't even bother.
And I've tried to play through it again just to see what they changed. And to be honest, from what I've seen, the performance is now worse. The performance is worse compared to when I first played it.
I didn't even bother by the game. I knew it's gonna be something bad, so I said, no, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but I'm not spending my money. We had another comment. The next big thing EA will do is all these sports games will just have a £60 update every year and not a new one.
Yeah, FIFA and NBA are the big worst ones for that.
I don't know how to feel about that one, actually.
There isn't much difference between FIFA 15 and FIFA 17, for example.
It's an expansion pack, right?
But all EA care about there is their FIFA coin thing, is they're making their money. That is on their currency. That's where they care about making money with that game. That's their. It's just the FIFA games are just a platform for selling people something else.
Yeah.
It's a middleman.
Why, like, what are they gonna add into an already $60 sport game that is gonna be worth of another $60? That's my question. That's gonna be so bad. It's honestly gonna be so bad.
Yes, next, that's the theory. It's because Visceral won't do microtransactions and they won't code them, so EA axed them. Visceral are very strict in their ethics, or were. It's a hard one because you've, like, again, there's this, where do you value a game? It's like, does the gamer feel like they had $60 out of that game? Did you play the game for 60 hours? Well, you can play any game for 60 hours if you play it enough. You can have that argument.
You can. I mean, a sport game, you can. Yeah, it's not that hard to play 60 hours. I mean,
but then there's examples of good value. With Factorio, for example, with Minecraft in its early days, when it was the game's so small.
We had the comment about Minecraft before from Super, I believe. He said, the sad part thing is that private Minecraft servers are less pay to win than games run by actual big companies.
Do you know why that is? It's because they're run by gamers, that's why.
Yeah.
They're not run by published. The servers aren't run by the publisher. They're not dedicated publisher-run servers. That's why they're fairer. It's that simple. It's because gamers know what gamers want.
Gamers create what they want.
Developers are out of touch with gamers, I believe. Partly through their own fault and partly through gamers' fault for being so bloody toxic.
Mm-hmm. I have played over 300 hours, no cost, on Path of Exile.
And if you bought, say, so Path of Exile, a great free-to-play. Roguelike Diablo style RPG.
Yep.
And because you've played 300 hours for free, you would have no issue dropping £5 to £10 on a microtransaction because you've had so much out of it. Exactly. And that's where you feel you get your value because you've got a fair bit, but there is publishers. It's not necessarily the developers, it's more the publishers because they govern the price. They govern the pricing and the selling. The publishers want more money. More. Yeah. There is a greed element. I don't think it's systemic, but there is a greed element that is not helpful.
There is occasions that some developers they actually implement the pay to win aspect into their own game by themselves without the publisher saying anything. But for the most, it's the publisher. That's the one that is trying to make the money. What is the publisher's job? Is to grab a game, advertise it, and sell it as much as possible, and make as much money as they can.
Well, let's see. The developer creates the product, and then the publisher markets it, pays for its printing, or in a game's case,
licensing and so forth.
Yeah, it's Steam is a publisher, right? So Steam is a digital publishing platform. So
that is true.
So you pay to have your game hosted there, and you recoup the cost of that hosting fee by charging for the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how. And then the developers get a slice. They get a percentage of the of the price per unit or total sale price, whatever's in their contract with their publisher. And the publisher always ends up better off though.
I didn't see Steam doing any shitty things though.
Oh,
right?
Steam, because Steam has a fairer policy with their commission on selling it. They have their shady moments. Steam has some very shady moments, like trying to team up with Bethesda for the paid mods for Skyrim, which was a fucking fiasco and a half.
What was the thing with the green leaf or whatever? Where
Green leaf?
Steam was putting some games in under the title of the green.
The Greenlight program was basically
Like,
games. Think of like itch.io or Kickstarter, where games aren't released yet, but you can vote if you want the game to be released. You didn't have to pay anything for Greenlight, and the
It was
games
just
would have,
voting.
to whether it was to see whether the game would be bought or not. Think of it like data finding. You know, would people buy this game? I don't know. Let's do a poll. So that's why the Greenlight program was there, and there were games that were being greenlit by Steam because people said, "Yeah, we'll buy that. It looks cool," and then they were never finished. And this is the problem with the early access program. It's the same principle. But at least with early access, there is an element that people need to understand with this one. And this is where I mentioned earlier about there's this sense of entitlement that some gamers believe they have. If you buy an early access game, what you need to understand is the game is not finished, and it may not be finished because the project may fail or there may be other problems. You are investing. Like any business transaction, an investment can fail. Do your research, and it will pay off. I've paid into early access games, and most of the time, the game carries on. But then there's failed games like Starforge, for example, it's supposed to be a sci-fi buildy game.
Failed.
It failed miserably, and the devs screwed it over. And I wish I hadn't bought it, but I did my research, and it looked really good, but didn't pan out. And that's investment for you. That's the way the business world works, and you're investing by buying into early access. You have to look into its reviews, look into how many people play it, look into how the developer and the publisher are doing. Yeah, and if it all looks positive, then there's a good chance it will be finished. But if it's like come from nowhere,
It's setting the goal. What is the goal? And if they can accomplish the goal, judging by the time and the work that they have to do, then it's a gamble. But the gamble can become something really, really, really good in that aspect of gambling. Going back to gambling, it's a gamble investing into early access games and things like that. It can become something really good.
The early access system is clear in its intent that you are investing, and it may not pan out. You are clear from the get-go. When you hit that buy button, you are accepting those terms. You cannot complain. You don't, by accepting the terms of it being in early access and the game not being finished, and the game may fail. You have to understand it's possible it may fail. And by buying an early access game, by clicking that buy button, you are accepting that. And if you're going to buy it anyway and then cry about it later, shut the fuck up. You accepted it. Don't complain about it. It's like breaking the rules of a video game's EULA and then complaining you got banned. You accepted it when you installed the game and clicked that I accept the EULA. It's not the developer's fault you didn't fucking read it and then cheated and found they don't like cheating.
You remember when you were talking about loot boxes? Right. About that, we digressed. We talk about many things because it's been a dialogue that we wanted to do for the longest time. Collie said something about
We were still on topic though about shady business.
Yeah, shady business, loot boxes, and all that. Said Path of Exile paid $100 into it. It was worth it. They deserve it, and I totally agree with you. With early access, I look. Do I want to play the game now? And I'm happy with the price I get it. If it look good, but it's not playable to me, I keep an eye on it till it gets to a level I'm happy with it. Exactly, yeah.
Brilliant. That is the best way to look at it.
That's the mentality, yeah. That's a great mentality. You see the game, you are like, is it for what I'm paying good or not? I actually invested money into the game called 7 Days to Die. When it was super early, alpha, whatever, I saw a good potential into the game, and I bought it for $10 back then, and look at it now. It has so much fan base into the game, and it actually, it's, I don't remember if it actually got fully released, but I think it did. Same with Ark. I put my money into Ark.
But that's where buying into early access pays off for the gamer. It's there's games that have been sold mega cheap, like Kerbal Space Program. Before version 1, it was sold at half the price of what they published. They published what they would sell it at when it was released. You knew the price they were going to sell at right from the beginning, and because the game wasn't finished, they gave you like a 50% permanent discount on it, right? That's where you're getting paid by the developer, as it were. You're not actually getting money, but because you're investing in it early and it's not finished and you're testing it. You're essentially
helping and saving money at the end.
And that's why you get it cheaper, because it's kind of like for investing and being supportive of them as a developer and being there. That's your reward. You get it cheaper.
Yep. And it's so worth it.
And I've seen people scream when the game price goes up. Well, the game's released now. What are you complaining about? It's in full retail. It's going to have a full retail price, whatever they decided what that would be.
All right, and I'm going to need to buy it full time. So, all right, do we have anything else to talk about the loot boxes and the whatever happening there, or should we continue with another 2 minutes of the video? If we find something that we didn't discuss, I'm going to pause it immediately and talk about it, alright?
Back of the petition that was put to the government, and the government coming out saying, oh, we'll have the Gambling Commission look into it. Now, the government basically passed the buck. The Gambling Commission have looked into it. It's not gambling by the definition. Now, it's up to the government. They passed it back to the government, basically.
Sounds an awful lot to me like they want self-regulation for the industry here a little bit, like the way they've worded it. Like, we're all responsible. We all have a responsibility for the children. It's kind of a hint kind of message to the games industry to just sort themselves out, because they don't have the power. The Gambling Commission doesn't have the power to do anything, really, other than strongly worded statements like they've done right here. So they can just go, come on guys, just sort this out, yeah? This is fucking kids we're talking about. That's basically what they've said in better words than I just used. You know, it is quite a strong message. I'm sure that people inside the industry will look at this and go, oh, this is yet another voice from yet another country that's saying we need to sort ourselves out. Self-regulation seems like a fine answer to me for now, at least. It was a way to stop situations like Star Wars Battlefront 2, even Shadow of War, you know, things that are clearly exploitative and just outright just using gambling techniques to get...
Wait, he said self-regulations. That's what we said before. Stop buying the game. That is the pure translation of the self-regulation, is stop buying the game.
It's more... when you regulate an industry, you make sure it's all done ethically and fairly, and it's not being done so because kids are being convinced to they're like being convinced and being manipulated in a way because they're not aware of what they're doing.
Okay, so what they mean by self-regulation? The individual.
No, as in the games industry needs to regulate itself in the sense that they need to make sure they are being ethical. But there isn't anyone that can do oversight over them because, like he just said, the Gambling Commission have no power over them, so the games industry need to do it themselves. Yes, the gaming industry needs to be a bit more ethical, but then...
Then he added a little bit, he said, for now, the only thing that you can do is to do self-regulations, to do it yourself, to back off a little bit until all this has been solved. That's what he meant. As the individual, as the parents to the person or the gamer that buys the game, to step back a little bit and wait for this clusterfuck to be avoided.
If it will ever go away.
Yeah, of course.
gamers and kids who are among those gamers to buy loot boxes for an endless supply of money for them. It's not a good situation.
Seems like another dead end so far as like regulation goes in the UK. It does feel like everyone's talking about it right now, and I think that's a win in itself. Everybody's aware of it. Everybody's thinking about it, talking about it. It's in the news. That's a win of sorts. That's about as good as we get in the UK, isn't it? Because we are, we are British,
Yeah, a victory of sorts.
A victory of sorts.
The sweetest victory of all.
So there we have it, another dead end, another legal grey area. Let us know what you think about it down in the comments below. Like the video if you
And that's basically the video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe we discussed everything about the subject. If you want guys to add a little bit to the conversation, please let us know. If you have anything to add. The main problem is the gaming industry moves faster than laws do.
Yes, they do.
They do. And they do it intentionally. They actually, recently actually, the law started looking into these loot boxes and gambling, and they're trying to actually do it by the law. Have actual law about that, and they are trying to figure it out what is okay and what is not okay, and we are sitting over here trying to find out what they gonna decide, and then kinda the game industry is gonna change upon that, because when you put the law into the gaming industry, then it's official, oh, they are allowed to have loot boxes by the law. Fuck.
We'll see.
We are all waiting, yeah.
Time will only tell with that one.
Yeah. If like the law decides that it's okay to have loot boxes and have that advantage, or lower the price or remove it completely, we are all gamers sitting over here waiting for that. It will take years. 3, 4, 5 years. Maybe a year, 2 years, I don't know. Throughout that 1, 2 year, all this is gonna be allowed. Because there is no law. In UK, it takes about 3 to 5 years for a law to be made. They can do it faster, but it's not easy. Yeah, exactly that. So throughout these 1, 2, 3 years, we're gonna continuously seeing the same things over and over and over and over and over again, because they can legally do it. There is no law. They might piece of the gamers, the buyers, the whatever, but no one can stop them. I'm not waiting for more loot boxes. Then before you buy a game, let the game come out, let others play it, and if you see loot boxes, just turn around and start running as fast as possible. I feel like loot boxes and such are a ticking time bomb until suddenly some unknown force cause it all to become a raging inferno. Okay.
That's quite right, though.
Then becomes unacceptable. Yeah, absolutely. I have not bought a game with loot boxes personally. And you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing. You have to stop encouraging the people, the industry that have the loot boxes by not buying their game. Telling them, hey, you have loot boxes. No. Alright, I think we're gonna leave it over here. We discussed about this. I want to thank everyone for watching this, our first, let's say, talk show, podcast, whatever you wanna you wanna call it. make sure to follow me on Twitter, or you can always join us on Discord to know when we're gonna continue doing this type of talk shows. The schedule is a little bit unstable. We are trying to schedule it a day before, maybe 2, maybe 3 days maximum before it actually happened. This video is gonna be on YouTube, so you can always go back and watch it anytime that you want. I'm gonna make sure to have links down below where it's my Twitter or the Discord link or my Twitch or anything related to that. And who knows what is gonna be the next topic. If you have any feedback, any recommendations, anything that you think we can improve, please make sure to let us know so we can actually fix it. Again, that's our first one. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it interesting, and let us know what you think on the YouTube, I guess. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching this. I appreciate that. Now, if you want to add